Now, is this for me or is it for that one?
Well, we're all messed up because of this.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got two speakers or microphones, one with the other.
The button.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're good then.
All right. Let's see. Do we get everybody sitting down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call this Board of Adjustment to order. First, let me announce all the decisions of the board are considered final. If there's anyone aggrieved by a decision of the board, they may appeal to circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or license can be issued during that time period. And no appeal has been filed. For information regarding the board's decision or an appeal to circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, I ask that you give your name and address for the record. And if you've got a cell phone, electronic device, at this time everyone would turn them off or silent so we don't have that disruption. And I'll remind the board members to turn their mic on when they make a comment or a motion. And we have a limit of 5 minutes for speakers, and they'll give you a 1-minute warning when you get to after your 4-minute time period, and 4 individuals in favor of a motion and 4 in opposition. Or a variance, I should say. So if you've got several people in your group, pick your best 4, as I like to say, and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First, let's start with roll call. Mr. Burris? Here. Mr. Milling? Here. Mr. Metcalf? Here. Mr. Golden? Here. Mr. Davis? Absent. And I'm William Guess. That makes 5 members are present, takes 5 for a quorum, and also 5 to affirm a motion either in support or opposition to a variance request. Okay, and then we have adoption of the agenda. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Starting with 6385, which is a holdover from the previous meeting. This is regarding 52 Westwood Street. Will the applicant please come to the podium? Good afternoon. Your name and address again.
It's Chelsea McCormick, 52 Westwood Street.
Okay, and we kind of went through this last time, and there was some recommendation that you get with, I think, the neighborhood and some other.
Yes, sir, and I actually prepared a statement
Please.
about what happened, if I could read that for y'all. So each of you have been given a copy of this statement along with various pieces of information, including the multiple emails, text messages, Facebook posts, yard signs, and one of the many printed letters that were sent to the neighbors of Westwood Street. They were given to me through the neighbors who were in support of me. In fact, I have been excluded by the opposing neighbors from all conversations and sent information since the moment they were aware of my variance application, and I have been blindsided on every occasion when any new piece of information was distributed. From the moment I was granted an extension by you, any chance of our neighbors making an unbiased decision about this variance have been taken from me. I've spent the last 60 days compiling different pieces of information, which you all have a copy of, and developing the most transparent way to explain the business model and its ingredients to my neighbors, like you encouraged me to do. During this same 60 days, 3 to 4 neighbors, some of which are from outside the variance zone, have campaigned and spread lies about me and the business and the variance process. Numerous neighbors have reported to me that they felt harassed by the level of contact they received from this group of people. This came to a head on July 27th when my boyfriend and I attempted to walk around the neighborhood to speak face-to-face with all the neighbors inside the variance zone following the advice given by the board. I tried my best to be as transparent about the information. I was open to suggestions my neighbors had, and I answered any questions or concerns they had regarding Board to Death. As you can see, 11 people were in favor of the business, 1 indifferent, and the remaining neighbors I spoke to were willing to consider my variance request after receiving the correct information from me. That same day, the opposing neighbors, 1 from outside the variance zone, decided to walk the neighborhood approaching the houses that I had just left, spreading slanderous information to practically scare our neighbors into voting against me. In fact, in the middle of me speaking with one of our neighbors, the opposing neighbor from outside the variance zone began to yell over me from the middle of the street. He informed the neighbor that I was attempting to open a bar, and that if I was granted this variance, then a pool hall was sure to follow. I attempted to explain to this neighbor the correct information. However, he continued to cut me off. This neighbor, my boyfriend, and I engaged in a discussion regarding their campaigning, their questions and concerns. I even supplied him with a fact sheet prior to the start of this conversation, which he did not bother to read, but instead he began to talk down to me. At one point, he directly asked me why I was ruining the neighborhood. He stated his assumptions about me, bored to death, and you, the Board of Zoning and Planning, saying that once I was granted a variance, there would be less opposition for future variances, leading to more businesses being granted variances in residential community. I attempted to defend myself and the process by informing him that each variance is granted on a case-by-case basis, but I was told that I don't know anything about business and how the variance board works. I attempted to understand and alleviate the concerns of this neighbor and even offered to add another stipulation to my application stating that if the business grew, I would move from my kitchenette. However, when asked if this would make a difference, he stated nope. The neighbor then informed me that he would continue to follow me throughout the remaining portions of my walk and give the neighbors the true information. I even informed him that you, the board, encouraged me to speak to my neighbors and that there would be no point to continue if he was going to continue to speak over me. After about 10 to 15 minutes of a conversation that was going nowhere, I proceeded to the next house in which he followed me, waited until I did my explanation, left the premises, and then began to explain his information. I even attempted to speak with Bob Sweeney, the neighbor spearheading this campaign regarding the variance. However, he was not at home at the time of my attempt, but an absent letter was left for him to contact me with questions or concern, but he chose not to reach out. I received copies of the comments and emails that were sent to the board regarding this meeting, and not a single person on the opposing side attempted to contact me regarding their questions and concerns. In closing, I've tried to follow the board's recommendations to alleviate and provide solutions to the concerns and misunderstandings that a few of my neighbors have had. It seems, however, at this point, because of continuous misinformation, lies, and scare tactics, I have not been given a chance within this community to give a proper explanation of my business and what I'm trying to do and the benefits this will bring to the area. In fact, because of the maliciousness of these things that were said to me and others about me, I feel less safe in my own home. Less welcome in the community, and at this point, I don't know how to begin to correct the things that were said about me. I've done nothing to ruin this neighborhood, and I was trying to do something that brought joy to my life, the community, and the people I create boards for. And over the last 60 days, this has turned into a nightmare. And I hope you can take this information into consideration, but I respect any decision that you make about my request.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that's here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay. Anyone in opposition today? Good afternoon, sir. Your name and address?
Afternoon. My name's Reggie Copeland Sr. I reside at 3707 Swansea Drive, 36608. I want this city board to understand I do not live in the vicinity of this project, nor do I own any of the houses or buildings in this area. But I remembered in 1985 when I campaigned for city council, the first of its kind, I saw so many of my friends from church, from business, social activities, and I won overwhelmingly against 8 other candidates. And while I'm thinking, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the other members of the board for serving, because you're doing a great job for the city of Mobile. Whenever I had an appointment to this board, I always told that appointee, listen to the staff. They are professional, they do this every day, and they do a wonderful job. You don't have to call me, just talk to the staff. But there's some things about this application. Midtown is a hot spot right now for young couples that want to come in and renovate some houses and live there with their families and enjoy the proximity of being close to downtown, but also close to where I live out there, where all the shopping centers are in District 5. But I look at this and I say to myself, been operating a long time without any permits from the city, from this zoning board, from the Board of Health, the fire department, and I'm saying to myself, we cannot allow this to go on this street or any other street in Mobile, Alabama, because of selfishness. This business, and I'm all for the businesses, I like small businesses and I'd like to see them grow, but not in my neighborhood or your neighborhood. And these folks that have asked me to come down here today because I have so many friends over there. I understand in June that this applicant was advised to meet with the professional staff before coming back for this meeting today, because it was denied back in June. And again today they're denying it. But she didn't show up. She didn't come to that meeting. So I think that there's something wrong when you don't do that. You got to follow protocol when you get into a business, because there's so many liabilities. Today lawyers will jump on you at the least little thing, and not having proper facilities out there could be a detriment to your health. And I just think that those things need to be looked at. And I asked you today, and you're going to hear from some of the residents that live on that street, and I support them 100%, and I hope that you will too, and listening to their arguments. And I don't want to be repetitive, because you're going to hear more about what goes on over there on a daily basis. I go through there a lot because I trade at Midtown Pharmacy, and I've been doing business with them for 40 years. It's a small pharmacy over on Airport Boulevard, and I go down to Westwood a lot of times, or Mohawk, to get over to it if I'm on Dolphin Street. Please keep in mind that we don't want to open Pandora's box, and if something like this happened in this neighborhood, it could happen in your neighborhood, and I don't think you'd like that either. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and Mr. Guest, you're sitting in the chair that I used to sit in for a long time, and you're keeping it warm, keeping it good. It's good to see all of you, and thanks again for allowing me to come to speak today on behalf of my friends and those that I have lived with for 92 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reggie.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Copeland before he leaves? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Good afternoon. Your name and address, please.
Just a moment. My name is Bob Sweeney. I live at 56 Westwood Street. Because I only have 5 minutes, I cannot begin to address what the applicant said about our neighborhood. I will say this, though. When she moved into our neighborhood, I went over to introduce myself and welcome her to the neighborhood. It was the last conversation I had with her for almost 2 years because she avoided her neighbors. And I'll just leave it at that for that one. After the initial meeting on June 7th, it would be an understatement to say I was discouraged as I walked out of this auditorium. I actually felt sorry for the 3 friends who rode with me that day because they had to listen to me rant all the way home. Yes, I was discouraged, but I also knew my fight would come back. And sure enough, within a few days, I had a yard sign made opposing the variance. Now, understand this is significant and an indication of how important this issue is to me, because never in my adult life have I placed any kind of sign in front of my house. No Bush, no Clinton, no Trump, no Biden, no Stimson, no Richardson, none. This is probably the result of teaching for 30 years, overseas in Kenya, East Africa, St. Ignatius, Dunbar Middle School, Adams Middle School, Murphy High School, and being keenly aware that my job in all of those schools was to educate and not indoctrinate. So my will to fight came back, and I owe that drive to 2 people. My dad practiced law in this town for nearly 25 years and then served as a district court judge for 18 years. He gave 43 years of honesty and integrity to the city of Mobile. As an attorney, he represented many indigent people. and I recall one of his clients saying that he was so honest he was poor. Of course, it didn't help that he had 11 children. In this article from the Mobile Register, after his death, a former assistant DA said he was truly the poor people's judge. But I mentioned him because he too had to fight for our street and neighborhood, North Reed Avenue, back in the 60s when a variance request for a beauty salon at the corner of Old Shell Road was being considered. He truly believed in protecting the integrity of single-family zoning. I have no doubts that the current residents on North Reed continue to enjoy the benefits of his effort. There are still no businesses located anywhere on that street. But even more significant to my fight for my home and my neighborhood than my dad's experience is that of his brother, who 50 years ago today, when I was a senior at McGill Institute, was trying to save the only home he ever knew. Except for the years of service in the Army during World War II, my uncle lived his entire life at 217 South Jefferson Street, right over that way. There at the corner of South Jefferson and Palmetto Street, and backing up to the playground of Emerson Institute. 60 years in the house my grandfather built. As a matter of fact, my parents lived there with him, and for a while with my grandfather, as the number of children grew from 1 to 8. Don't ask me how they did it. But when I was 2, they moved to Reed Avenue. My uncle continued to live there until 1971 when the Mobile Housing Board came calling and told him they were taking his house and the rest of the houses on that end of the street through eminent domain, all part of their plan for urban renewal. He would be paid for his home, but he would have to leave his house, along with many other turn-of-the-century homes on Jefferson Street that would be torn down. I just have a couple of things left to say. He refused the money and refused to leave and ended up being evicted. He and his things were placed on the street. This article from the Mobile Register describes the eviction scene. My uncle only lived a few years after losing his home because his spirit was broken. Perhaps an even greater tragedy historically was that along with the houses on Jefferson Street, the Housing Board also tore down Emerson, the first black high school in the city and one of the first in the state. Go there today and all you'll see is a weathered sign indicating the location of the school. Inspired by my dad and my uncle, I stand before the board today in my own fight to save my home and preserve the history and integrity of Westwood Street as a single-family neighborhood.
Any questions for the speaker? All right, thanks, sir. Good afternoon. Name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Theodore Curley, and I live at 16 Westwood Street. So I've been a resident of Westwood Street for over 13 years, returning to Mobile after 5 years in Huntsville. It was nice to return to Mobile where people walk, talk, and enjoy a true sense of community. My family has a long connection with Midtown like others on the street. My grandmother is a widow, and my mother moved to South Fulton Street in 1940. My brother, sister, and I lived in that house for various lengths of time until 2000. My grandfather lived on Dolphin Street at Upham Street until his passing. My brother now lives on Wisteria Avenue between Dolphin Street and Old Shell Road. My sister lives on South Street at Dolphin Street. My nephew lives on Mohawk Street at Dolphin Street. I mentioned this as to the reference to the FLUM locator map that was included in the staff report. The overwhelming number of parcels on the map are residential. The only businesses noted that are on main arteries. There are no businesses located within the residential areas, the streets. The fabric of a residential neighborhood is very important to the value of the properties. I purchased my home to live in a residential area. I did not know anyone on the street when I moved there, but I've since developed a great camaraderie with all the neighbors on the street. I am firmly opposed to business in the middle of a residential area. As noted in the original staff report from the June meeting, the variance will be contrary to the public interest, Special conditions do not appear to exist to create an unnecessary hardship for granting the variance. Substantial justice shall not be done to the surrounding neighborhood if the variance is granted. The business is not in compliance with Mobile County Health Department requirements. The business is not in compliance with City of Mobile building codes. I know that numerous neighbors have submitted their objections to the business zoning online through comments and emails. In addition to that, we've collected 40 signatures of neighbors, with the vast majority of the residents on Westwood Street opposed to this zoning. The staff report was updated following the 60-day extension for the zoning change request. Following the original meeting, the zoning request was laid so the applicant could meet with the neighbors and was advised to schedule a meeting with the permitting office. No meeting with the neighbors was ever scheduled, and as the staff notes, no pre-development meeting has occurred, nor has any additional information been provided by the applicant. Therefore, the previous recommendation stands. Previous business zoning variance requests have been denied in the area. Requests that were on Dolphin Street, which is the main artery. This business zoning would be in the middle of a residential street in a purely residential neighborhood. I strongly urge the Board of Zoning Adjustments to protect the integrity of our neighborhood, protect our investment in our homes, and protect the underlying residential fabric of Midtown by denying this zoning request as the staff has twice recommended. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of the speaker?
Yeah, just for clarification, this is not a zoning change,
Okay,
okay?
that's fine.
I just wanted the
Well,
audience to
okay.
understand. It's a,
Zoning change variance,
no,
we're,
it's a big difference.
okay, well,
Thank you.
opposed to it. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other speakers in opposition? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Cam Pearl from 110 Westwood Street. Some of you may recognize the Mobile, Alabama Code of Ordinances, Chapter 64 Zonings, Section 64-2 Definitions, Paragraph C1 that defines an R1 district. The district regulations are designed to protect the residential character of the developed areas by prohibiting all commercial activities, to encourage a suitable neighborhood environment for family life. I haven't always lived in a neighborhood with the character and charm of Midtown. Growing up, my family moved to a new construction project approximately every 2 years across this country and across the world. I honestly did not know what a neighborhood really was until I moved to Westwood Street. We have lived on Westwood Street for 30 years. My wife and I purchased our first home at 60 Westwood Street. We eventually outgrew our home and bought 100 Westwood Street, where occasionally I would go mow Mr. Deere's lawn when he got too old to mow it himself. There, my kids grew through grade school, high school, college, and even medical school at South. We recently moved to our third home on Westwood Street at 110 Westwood Street. In fact, my wife's family built and resided at 100 Westwood Street since the 1920s, almost 100 years ago. Businesses are started with one thing in mind. I've started one, and businesses start with growth in mind. The way that a business is operated when it starts can never stay the same as it grows. If the board allows a growing B2 business in our neighborhood, you will change our neighborhood way of life. Empty promises on how a business will be run are only reliably moderated by the limits of regulations. There are no hardships in this case. Many people start a business without changing a neighborhood. And every adult who goes to college must pay back their student loans. Your staff report, both on June 7th and as revised on August 2nd, says, special conditions do not appear to exist, such that a literal enforcement of the provisions of the chapter will result in any unnecessary hardship. And it also says, this is a self-imposed hardship created because the applicant wants to operate a commercial business out of a residential property. The maps in your own staffing report clearly show that Midtown is already surrounded by B2 residential business areas providing services to us. New businesses need to be located in those existing nearby areas, and variances do not need to be granted to begin the intrusion of any commercial business into an area designed and zoned for family life. The ordinance requires that to allow a change, substantial justice must be done to the applicant and to the surrounding neighborhood. 40 residents from 1 Westwood Street on Dolphin Street to 164 Westwood Street at the railroad tracks at Old Government don't agree exactly with your staff report that substantial justice will absolutely not be done, and they have signed a petition that you have. If you map the limited area of the complaint area, I guess, it looks like this, where you can see this residence in orange is completely surrounded by people who signed the petition asking you not to allow a variance to our R1 zoning. Thank you for a very clear, concise, logical staff report, and for the privilege to address the board. We're asking you to protect our neighborhood, our homes, our families, and our way of living by following the recommendation of your own staff report, both in June and in August. Please deny this zoning variance request.
Any questions for the speaker? All right, thank you. I believe, Ms. McCormick, you have a 2-minute time period if you want to respond.
Okay, so after listening to the comments that were made by them, again, none of them came and approached me before this meeting about difficulties besides Cam, and that was the neighbor that was yelling over me at the other neighbor that I mentioned in this statement. They keep referring, like you said, to the zoning and the variance. I think that was the biggest misunderstanding, is some people are told that it's a rezoning, some people are told it's a variance. I tried to explain that, and it still seems to be a difficult thing to understand. I don't know what meeting they're referring to about in those 60 days I had to come back and talk to somebody else. I thought during that 60 days I just had to talk to my neighbors, so that's what I did. And then the special circumstances that exist are the fact that I can't operate using the ingredients that I use, which they all know about, is meat and cheese under cottage law, which can't operate in your house. So that's the special circumstances of me using the kitchen. Some of the comments that were made, I feel like, again, don't describe my time at 52 Westwood Street. He did introduce himself to me when I first moved in, like a lot of other neighbors. But I don't think that accusing me of being standoffish and selfish or whatever is an accurate depiction of me, just because I didn't decide to go hang out at your house every single day, because I have a lot of neighbors that I'm friends with that I hang out with on that street. So I don't really understand how that has any type of bearing on this case. So.
Okay, any questions for the applicant, once again? Mr. Burrows?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I was absent, I think, in June, so I didn't hear this particular argument. I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing you about this variance, but I've been on this board for about 3 or 4 years, and I'm a firm believer that the residents in an R1 neighborhood, this is just my opinion. Now, this is not the city of Mobile or the Board of Adjustment, has a right to their R1 neighborhoods. I think there's a special category. This is just me speaking. I'm not speaking for any other entity other than myself. I think those neighbors have a right to that. Matter of fact, I don't think I have ever voted on this committee to approve a variance, a business variance in an R1 neighborhood. I don't plan to start now. I just really think that, let me ask you a question. You own this property on
Yes,
that street?
sir.
How long you been living there?
About 2.5 years
About
now.
2.5
2 years,
years?
yeah.
And you just decided you would put a business there?
Well, it was supposed to be done in the house, because I figured it would fall under cottage law, but because it can't, that's why I have to
Well,
do.
let me explain to you what I feel about the building code in any city. It's there for a reason. It's there to protect homeowners that invest their monies in residential neighborhoods. It's there to protect business folks that put B2 businesses in a business neighborhood. And when people come in and arbitrarily say, matter of fact, years ago, I found this city of Mobile, years ago. When I first come back to Mobile, after leaving the Air Force, I moved back to Mobile. And they wanted to put an apartment complex in an R1 neighborhood. I even went to the point that I started collecting money from the neighbors, joined the community organization to fight it. I still believe today that the best thing going in a city is the building codes. Certain things can go here, certain things can't. Let me give you an example. Would you want me to move next door to your house and put a veterinary clinic next to it?
Well, the difference between that and what I'm doing is that no business is done on my property, so nobody comes to my house, whereas with a vet, they would come to your house.
I'm all for your business, honey. It's just you probably most likely would succeed other than in an R1 neighborhood. It's pretty tough for me to change that philosophy on any front, but I'm not the only vote here. There's others. But Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna just be quiet. I think I said enough. I just want her to understand why she might not get this vote. I don't know.
I have two questions for you, because it's referred to in the staff's comments. Has the health department been to your business?
No, I've been in contact with the health department to try to get as much information for how to even go about this, and I was referred to y'all first.
Okay, so they won't inspect because it doesn't meet the requirements?
Yes, sir.
And same for, I suspect, for the fire department and some of the other permitting offices?
Yes, sir. I'm assuming. I don't know. I didn't know I had to
Okay.
go through them also, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, thank you. This concludes our public hearing on this variance request. The staff has recommended for denial because of public interest. Special conditions do not appear to exist, and no hardship has been observed as per the staff's review. Chair, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair. I do want to start by telling the applicant that, you know, I applaud her efforts, and it's disappointing to hear kind of the aggressiveness of which, you know, maybe she has been treated, but I think it also is evidence to how passionate people are in historic neighborhoods and trying to protect the residential nature of it. I also applaud, you know, your entrepreneurship when trying to get a business started. That being said, I personally do believe that it's very important to protect residential neighborhoods, and I've listened to it twice, and I don't see the ultimate hardship, which gives us the ability to, you know, to approve this variance. And so for that case, I'm going to recommend denial.
Okay, I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. My comment is I've had neighbors that tried to start businesses out of their homes, and for the same reason had to go to an actual physical facility that was permitted, and they've done real well. Actually, one of them's next to Shoe Station, so I'll give you an idea where they're at. I hope you are successful. We have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sorry, your variance is denied. All right. Thank you all for coming. Okay, we are on 6393 regarding 2810 Harper Avenue. Is the applicant here? believe the name's Padarius. How do you say your first name?
Darius is actually my husband. My name is Andrea Kidd.
Okay. And your application is for 6393, correct? You're representing,
Yes, sir.
okay. Gentlemen? Okay. All right. If you'll proceed,
Okay.
your name and address.
My name is Andrea Kidd. My address is 4480 Winchester Road, 8 Mile,
Mic
Alabama,
close to you.
36613.
Okay. And this application also was recommended for denial. You want to tell the board why we should consider otherwise?
Well, in starting this business, I didn't know exactly the procedures to go to get the business started. And once I came down here and I got everything going and I talked to y'all told me that I needed to get signatures from the people on the streets, from the resident on the street. I got signatures from the resident on the street, and it was like, I believe it was a misunderstanding the last time I was here, to whereas it's like I want to open up a business. It's really, I'm trying to open up a concession stand like at the local park, because it's getting hot and I could get a push cart, but I think it'll be better with COVID going around, with sanitation and everything, to have a local spot for the children in the neighborhood. I'm not trying to just open a business to compete with like McDonald's or anything. It's just a local concession stand. I only want to sell hot dogs. I don't want to sell hamburgers, chicken wings, anything. Just hot dogs and chips for the kids, because a lot of people in the community don't have transportation. And I just wanted to provide something for the kids this summer.
Okay, any questions of the board for the applicant?
Yes.
Mr. Metcalf?
Ma'am, do you own the property already?
Yes.
Okay. And there's nothing on the property now, it's just vacant?
It's a storage facility on the property right now.
Okay.
Any further questions? Any other questions of the board? Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in support of this application? If you want to come down and give us your name and address, just for the record. Good afternoon. Your name and address, please.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, sir. I'm kind of just getting over COVID, so I'm sorry.
Well, we'll let you keep your mask on, man.
Yes,
How about
sir.
that?
My name is Markel Williams, 1024 Main Street in Trinity Gardens area. Excuse me.
All right, take your
Well,
time.
I'm
So
here-
what do
I'm-
you think this application should be considered?
I'm here to represent Miss Kidd. She's been a real pillar in the community, and like she spoke to y'all a minute ago, it's nothing major, just something to provide back to the community and help out. And I really hope she can get the variance to proceed with her dreams on being a good pillar to the community.
Any questions for the speaker? All right, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming today. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Whoops, take your time.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, good save.
My name is Barry Rouser, and I lived
Your
in.
address. Yeah.
My address is 1715 Griffin. I lived in Trinity Garden all my life, and if anybody up in here know about Trinity Garden, they know that there's a lot of foolishness going on, mainly concerning the adults doing what they want to do. Nothing for the children except for that park down there, and half of them be scared to go to it. Okay, and then you got single families down there with the husband working, the wife at home, or the wife and the husband working, and the children ain't got nowhere to eat, no free lunch. They get the little free lunch from the school. This is a quarter hot dog shop she's trying to open up. That's all.
Okay, any questions for the speaker? All right, thank you,
And
sir.
if I catch her selling a drink with hot sauce in it, I'll be the first one to come down here and tell y'all.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else in favor of the application that would like to speak at this time? Anyone in opposition here today? Okay, we have none. That, I guess, concludes the public hearing on this application.
I have a question.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair.
Have y'all received any comments, any calls or anything online or anything about this application, one way or the other?
We did receive one email that had some concerns at the previous meeting. We did not for this meeting, although you do have a petition that was handed to staff right before that is in support.
Okay, any further questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry. I've got a question for the applicant.
If you come down, please.
Just to make sure I'm clear, in reading the staff report, it said the applicant placed a prefabricated storage building on the site without permits or approvals and is asking for permission to operate a commercial business from the location without making any improvements to the site. It should be noted that even if the board grants the applicant relief from zoning ordinance requirements, the structure will need to be brought into compliance with all building code and health department regulations. In the previous statement you said before, are you using this building to operate out of?
No, I have not used it to operate out of. I was trying to get it operational and get it up to code to operate out of it. And that's when I found out I had to get a variance. So I stopped everything and I've been trying to do it the right way.
Okay.
I have not sold anything out of there.
But if the variance was granted, then you would be trying to operate out of this building. So then you understand you would have to go through the process with the health department and the city to bring it up to code.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. All right. And that would be your plan if this was approved.
Yes, if it was approved, then my next step would be to get the building up to code.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, kind of along the same line as his questions. Did you think of possibly doing like a truck version or some other more mobile food service versus utilizing the storage building or this type of building?
I did think about doing the truck, but the truck would cost more than me having, I already have my property and the building would be mine. And it would be cheaper to have that central, it would be better for me to have that central location than to try to ride around and find locations to park a truck.
Or a trailer?
Yeah.
System. Okay, and I guess you heard our earlier application, you know, taking a residential area and trying to convert it to a business application. That's usually very hard for us to consider if there's no hardship. So what would you say the hardship is with your application that we should consider different, specific to your property? You have utilities there? You have water and power there yet?
No, I do not.
Okay. So, or sewer? So you don't have any of the utilities?
No, I do
You
not.
know that's quite expensive just to do that alone.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions of the board?
I just like to make a comment.
Yeah, if you will.
Since I opened my mouth vociferously on that last.
Help yourself. Pull your mic closer.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how I want to say this. I'm not anti-business by a long shot. I ran the OSHA office here for years, and everybody from all of the paper mills to the chemical plants all will tell you that know me that I'm number 7 of 12 kids, raised in the Catholic Church, and Mama always told me to do the right thing. And of course, that's on me to know what's the right thing. I don't want to lecture, but I gave you that speech just a little while ago. But what I just want to say to you is that my position is not anti-business, let alone anti-minority business. I might be a little prejudiced in that. pro-minority business, just because you're trying to get a foothold in a society that didn't always give you one. But the code exists for a reason. I know I've given that lecture before, and I believe in the code more than a lot of people, even on this board, might believe. That R1 neighborhood is the only recourse that people got when they invest their money in homes. Same thing if you're in a business. If you went into a business neighborhood, let's just say it was a business neighborhood that didn't want you to sell the new thing on the market, the drugs, marijuana or something. Would you be for it if all of a sudden they start pouring in? Probably not. I'm speaking for you there. But that's what the code is for. The code is not there to discriminate against you or keep you from getting a business. It's there to protect the people that bought for that intended purposes, or put a business there for that intended purposes. In other words, what I'm saying to you is I just can't walk up or wake up tomorrow and say, I think I'm going to put me a drugstore, and I'm going to put it right in the middle of Cottage Hill Road in an R1 neighborhood. That would probably be illegal. You would have to get a variance, and a variance requires a hardship. A hardship is not saying, I can't make enough money in this neighborhood, or this is going to cost me too much. Economics incentive is not an incentive to give a variance. So I'm trying to explain that there's other things you can do, like our chairman recommended. Maybe he asked you that question anyway, about had you thought about a vehicle type stand where you can move around that wouldn't be subject to that R1 neighborhood, whether you might want to look at it that way. I would love for you to go into business, but I couldn't in good honest come. I wouldn't want you to come and put your hot dog stand next door to me. I just wouldn't. And well, let me stop lecturing. But I just want you to understand where I'm at, if not the rest of the board. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm speaking for me. What I believe the codes say and what's right for the people that live in that neighborhood. That's all. I definitely wouldn't want to stop you from running your business, operating your business. But operating it in an R1 neighborhood probably wouldn't be the big. And not only that, even if we granted that variance, they could take it to court.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burris.
Okay.
No, we've allowed you to speak, sir.
I'm sorry. I didn't
You
mean
like
cut
to
you off.
respond?
Yes.
No, just the applicant. If you'll keep it brief, because we've already given the time, so.
Okay. I understand what you're saying about putting a business in the R1 neighborhood, but I wouldn't be the first. It's a few of those businesses already that's in that neighborhood that's operating right now. I wouldn't be the first one to do it right there in that area. I just saw the need for where the other businesses was lacking to help come pick up the slack.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. This concludes our public hearing on the application. The staff's recommended for denial on this application that the variance would be contrary to public interest, special conditions do not appear to exist, and Spirit Chapter shall not be observed, substantial justice should not be done to the applicant or surrounding neighborhood, per the staff's review of the application. Chair, entertain a motion at this time. Chair makes a motion to deny.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Sorry, the application was denied. Okay, we are on application 6401, 6221. This is for 7261, 7311 Airport Boulevard. Victor Sign Company.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Orrin Robinson. I'm with Victor Sign Company. Our address is 5000 Whitworth Road, Mobile, Alabama, 36619. I'd like to say I've been in the sign business for 30-something years. I've been applying for variances for a long time, and every time I come down here and stand in front of you guys, I feel like I've either in trouble or I've forgotten to study for a test. But
Another quiz is at the end of it.
that's right. Anyway, this is actually an amendment to a variance that was granted back in 2018, back when Mullinax Ford was also a Lincoln dealership. It's a very large place, and there was a variance in place to allow, I believe it was 7 wall signs and I want to say 5 freestanding signs. They are no longer a Lincoln dealer. So 2 of the signs that are there are Lincoln signs, one on the building and that freestanding sign that you see on your graphic right there. Since they're no longer Lincoln dealer, they want to remove those, and they want to replace them with Ford trucks, with Ford truck sign, and then just a Ford oval on the building, just right there. They've already got the Mullinax on the building as well as a smaller Ford logo. This one's a little bit larger that they want to put in place of the Lincoln sign. It's not very large. It's basically 4x8. It's about a 31, 32 square foot sign. The pylon sign cabinet will be on the same steel and with a pole cover, and is approximately the same size as the Lincoln sign. Actually, it's a touch smaller if I'm not mistaken. So we're not asking for more signs than are there now. We're just asking to amend this variance that's in place to allow them to replace the Lincoln signs that are there with just their Ford branded signs.
Okay, and from my understanding, they just renovated this complex.
Very nice. If you haven't been out there, it's beautiful.
All right.
It's almost 1,000 feet of Airport Boulevard down through there. They have a tremendous area down there. That's a growing area.
All right, questions of the board for the applicant? One of these signs is really the Ford emblem, is that my understanding?
That's correct. The one that's going on the building is just
left side of the one
That's
building.
correct. That's where the Lincoln sign was originally.
But you have a Ford sign on the opposite side, right?
Actually, no, have one right now. The main entrance kind of juts out from the building, and if you can see what's on the screen there, in that gray area in the very center, that's Ford oval is there, and it's quite a bit. There you go. It's a little bit smaller than the one. The one on the left is the one that is going to replace the Lincoln sign.
Okay, can I ask the million-dollar question? Why not put that one where the smaller one is?
They think it balances the building a little bit better, since it had 3 signs instead of having just the 2 there. They want to go back and put one where the Lincoln sign was.
Okay, and then the other is on the pylon.
Right. It was a Lincoln pylon, and now it's going to be the Ford trucks. Part of their remodeling was a Ford truck specific area there.
Okay. Once again, any questions of the board? All right. Anyone in favor of the application here today? Anyone in opposition? All right. I'll ask make my last comment then, so I don't influence somebody's statement. Normally when we've had these, and it's additional signs for a dealership, it's like you said, there's multiple dealerships associated with it, or brands. Seeing how this is one brand, I'm not necessarily so sure about that extra emblem, the need for it.
Right.
I understand using the pylon. I mean, that's quite an investment for the pylon to have no advertisement on it. But I'm not necessarily so much in support of the extra emblem, just so you'll know as a member of the board.
I understand.
All right. Once again, any questions of the board? All right. That concludes our public hearing on this application.
Thank you.
Thank you. The staff has recommended for approval, and I should have asked the applicant's rep, but I'm sure he's in agreement with staff's recommendation and requirements. I'll leave my comments again with the fact that the extra emblem I don't necessarily see as being necessary. I understand the pylon and the use of it is probably a good opportunity to advertise for that one location, but the extra emblem is not, in my opinion, necessary. Therefore, Chair, entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman, based on, subject to staff recommendations.
Okay. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Subject to staff's conditions?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Subject to staff's conditions?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the variance request is denied. Would the applicant wish to amend their application for just the pylon?
I'm sorry.
You can't,
We should have voted individually. Based on your comments, should have voted individually whether the
or amended the,
Okay, Mr. Metcalf, would you like to amend your?
yes, or can we do that since we, okay. Yes, I'd like to amend my motion for approval, subject to staff recommendations and deleting the extra Ford emblem.
Okay, I have a motion to approve subject to staff recommendations just for the pylon. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. The pylon is approved.
Okay. Is there recourse through the court to,
Sure.
okay. How do I do that? The
Talk to
contact?
staff.
Hire a lawyer.
Get your checkbook.
That's right. You know, I've never done that. I've just taken my lumps and gone most of the time, so I didn't know exactly what the
Well,
process
you got
was.
half
And I'm
of
not
the
sure they're
request.
gonna wanna do it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I'm gonna have to give them the option if they wanna do
I-
that.
I don't see the hardship for the extra emblem.
Yeah, I typically, I
So-
agree with you. But, so we're good to go on pylon, and I'll just tell them if they wanna fight it out, they can
Yes, sir.
figure the other. Good deal. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf.
Yes,
for
sir.
modifying
I'm
it.
sorry, I should have done that in the beginning.
All right. We are on application 6402, 755 Monroe Street. Is the
Mr.
applicant here?
Chairman, the applicant reached out to staff and advised us that they would not be in attendance today, but that they are in agreement with staff recommendations.
Privacy fence. All right, well, let's see. Is there anyone here to either speak regarding application 6402 Taylor Atchison regarding 755 Monroe Street, either for or against that application? Okay, staff's recommended this application for approval with fairly good review. I had the opportunity to review this one a couple times actually, and it's a buffering of a commercial business from with outdoor activity from adjacent residents. They have already had a variance to initially. How long has this facility been in place? Didn't we have this one as a variance initially?
No, sir, there's a couple of places on the other side on the north side of Monroe Street that you may be thinking about. This site has been in operation, I know, for at least a year or so, but earlier this year at April 15th Planning Commission meeting, they did get a planning approval to allow increased capacity. And on that site plan, they showed the 10-foot fence as part of their proposal, which required their application today.
Yeah, and they modified their site to put a storage area to help minimize the noise, from what I understand. If I kind of downsized their outside area.
Yes, sir.
So they tried to minimize it as best they could, or mitigate it is probably the better term. All right, staff recommends approval, subject to conditions. The applicant's not here to represent themselves. They are in agreement, as you stated, with the conditions. All right, and we have no one in favor or opposition here to represent the applicant or to oppose. Public hearing closed. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion to approve with subject to staff's
Subject to staff
recommendations. And a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. right, let's go to 6401. And this will be 5300 Halls Mill Road, Ryko Signs.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I asked Orrin if he wanted to stay and do mine. He said I lost. Why would you want me to do that? So anyway, I'm Wade Wright, Ryko Signs, 3345 Halls Mill Road, and I have a representative with me today who is with Sally's.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nicole Pazant, and I represent Sally Beauty Holdings, and the address is 5300 Halls Mill Road. And we're here to request the additional signage on the building, as when we relocated from our original location, the landlord, and we were told that we would get the same signage that Payless had before us. So we're just requesting that we are able to put up the sign in the location, which is where Payless had their sign as well.
Okay, any questions of the board for the applicant? Question, are all the tenants advertised on that side of the building, or just two? How many tenants would have signage on that, I guess, the east elevation?
Where we're asking is actually at the back of the building. Well, it's a three, kind of like a triangle deal, so I don't know how many.
There's 4 people back there.
There are 4.
So there are actually 4.
Wouldn't be counting us if it is.
So there's 4 different businesses advertised on, and you'll be the 4th or 5th?
The 4th.
Okay. And that's what was previously posted?
Yes.
Okay, plus the front, and then what's on the pylon?
Yes.
Okay. All right, once again, any questions of the board? All right. Did you have something to add?
I was just going to say.
You got to give us your name and address.
It's Lana Nelson, and it's 5300 Halls Mill Road. It's actually the back part of the building is coming from the direction of the old location, and a lot of our customers think that we closed and they're going out further to other Sally's or to the Walmart. And when they go to the Walmart, they would be able to see that we're right there if that sign was there. It would improve our sales tremendously.
Just a second, please. I just wanted to look and see if... I wanted to go by this site before today, but I didn't have a chance to go by there. Because you got GameStop, you got Firehouse Subs, who else in the complex? Boiling Pot, Supercuts, Nail.
The boiling pot is
correct?
no longer there.
Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At least 8 businesses in that complex. And only 4 have signs on that?
Well, it's angled.
If you
So-
look at the screen behind you, I had to ask the staff about this. The sign they're asking for is at the bottom. They have one on the right side, which would be, I guess, the east or the south. And they have one on the front, and they have one on the pylon. So those are the 3 they've got existing. They want to add one on that back side. And that's where they have 3 currently, 3 other tenants, and they want to add theirs.
Mr.
And then
Chairman,
there's 2 on the side. Yes. Did I have a question? for
I
somebody?
was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, a
Yes.
comment. I mean, I'm fairly familiar with that center, and I will say, I think because of the way it was designed and the angles of the streets and the traffic that you have coming down Rangeline Road, there's a lot going on when you're trying to find signage within that facility. And I actually do think there's a hardship as far as trying to have adequate signage in that center, and that it would be of a benefit to people coming down Halls Mill Road.
Well, let me ask you this, since you're familiar with the complex. 2 signs are on the east, and then I guess 4 on the south.
This will be the 4th.
So this will be the only, well, GameStop on there on the back too? Okay. No, I understand. I'm just wondering whether or not the one on the east side is benefit as much as the one on the back, but I guess that's where they already had one. Okay. All right, I have no further questions. Anybody want to see the file? All right. Do we have anyone in the audience that, aside from these folks, that would like to speak in behalf of this application? Anyone in opposition? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This will conclude our public hearing on application 6403. The staff recommended for denial, is that correct? And based on your review, approving the variance would be contrary to public interest. Special conditions did not appear to exist, and the spirit of chapter shall not be observed. And Mr. Milling, based on your experience, did feel that it's based on the way the layout of the facility that it would be contrary to public interest. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say, in due respect to the staff, I do think that the way that it's designed, and I mean, being in the commercial real estate business, I've had some listings out there. It's a kind of a funky area, and there are a lot of streets that intersect in that area, and traffic goes pretty fast. And so I do think that it would give them some additional visibility without being detrimental to the surrounding area.
Okay. All right. Once again, this closes the public hearing on this application. Chair, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve, that is, right?
Yeah, sorry, motion to
Second.
approve.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Application's approved, or the variance is approved. All right. We're on application 6404, 6359 regarding 1710 Gulffield Drive North. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Melissa Goodman. I'm representing Revitalized Realty,
Yes, ma'am.
which is at 456 Broad Street.
Okay.
Revitalized Mobile actually purchased this property in 2019. It was very ran down, an eyesore, really. We did go in, we didn't change the footprint. I actually have the old pictures with units 1, 2, and 3 on the doors.
Have those been provided to us?
Yes, I emailed all of this over on Friday. We went in and we made this a beautiful home. We made it beautiful for the residents that live there. They all signed leases with us last June and July. We haven't been able to renew the leases, and the same tenants are still there, and they love their home. So I really want to fight for them, because it would be very detrimental to these tenants. We're asking for a variance in this particular situation. None of these tenants have given anybody a moment's trouble. We're not trying to run a business or anything. We kept it the same as it was. There's 3 individual units. There's a house that has a smaller unit broken off on one end, and then the garage that was existing was turned into a unit before we ever bought it. And we do rentals. That's our business. So that was the reason for us purchasing in the first place, was because it was already that way. We weren't trying to change it. We spent a lot of money making it beautiful. 2 of these units actually have granite countertops. We really went above and beyond. The tenants are asking that, they can renew their lease, and unfortunately, I'm not able to do that until if we're granted a variance, which I would really, really appreciate. I actually have someone with me that is the agent that bought that property for our owner, for Revitalized Mobile. He's actually here and dealt with the previous owner. He was not well liked in that neighborhood, by the way. So if anything, we have come in and really improved that neighborhood significantly. And we're willing to do anything that the board recommends or the building codes, anything that we need to do to make it multifamily, anything that we haven't already done, we're 100% ready to do that.
Okay, any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Okay. All right.
I would like for.
Would you like to speak, sir?
Yeah.
My name's Todd Brown. Address.
Pull the mic up a little bit.
Todd
You're
Brown.
One of the few that needs it higher.
456 South Broad Street. I'm over acquisitions for this company, and I'm the one who struck the deal with the previous owner to purchase the property. When we bought it, it was a triplex. It was being used as a triplex. All we did was keep it as a triplex. After the purchase happened, I was over there doing some cleanup, and there was a couple of the neighbors walked up, and they were so happy that he was no longer there. Said there was a lot of drug use. Obviously, that's all hearsay. I never saw, any of that, but they were very happy that he was gone and happy that we were in there making it a better place.
Yes, we vet our tenants very well.
When you purchased or helped broker the
Yes.
purchase, did you check to see what it had been zoned as?
I was told by the previous owner that he was grandfathered into the triplex.
Okay, but you didn't check to see?
No.
I got a question for staff.
Yes.
Why is it not a grandfather situation?
Because this was, to the best of our knowledge, this was converted to a triplex within the recently few years. I know the first complaint that we received, if you look, you have a timeline that was provided to you from staff. We received a 311 complaint in June of 2017 that it had been converted to a triplex without any approvals. And so to the best of our knowledge, it was converted around that time.
So for
which would
two
be-
ownerships, it's been used as a triplex.
Correct.
To be legally grandfathered, it would have had to been a triplex or a multifamily at the time the zoning ordinance was passed.
Right.
Just because somebody converted it 10 years
understand.
ago didn't make it grandfathered. It was non-compliant then.
I understand.
Okay, any further questions?
Yeah, I want to see these pictures if we've got.
Yeah, these are in color, so you can make
If you'll
out
handle
better
it.
what they look like.
Oh, I didn't see them.
I didn't see them either.
Yes, I have the leases when we signed them, and there was a
Yeah, I
statement
know.
that said
Well,
that
actually,
we
she's
got
bringing them
leases
up.
after, which we didn't.
Okay.
While we're looking at these, do we have somebody else who'd like to speak in favor? If you'll come down and give us your name and address. If you folks will just step aside and we'll give the individual opportunity to speak. Thank you. Good afternoon, your name and address.
Diane McMillan, 1712 North Gulffield. Now, I want to say, I have to disagree with him saying that it was drug infested. I live next door. And Dave, it was the previous owner, yes, he did have people coming in, staying there, but it wasn't like this man has explained. Because I live right next door.
Excuse me, hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. What I'm getting at is you got to speak to us.
Oh, okay.
And we can't speak to each other
Okay.
among the
Well, the neighborhood houses that's around there was from Brooklyn Field Air Force Base. That's where the people live there from Brooklyn Field, and you know how long that's been. We've been there 40 years, and Dave, I don't know how he got the house, but he got the house. He was not, you did not give him a permit to zone it as an apartment, but he had people, just people staying over. He may have had 2 or 3 different kitchens, sinks or whatever they found, but in our house, in my laundry room, I got a sink. In my bathroom, I got a sink, but that don't make it to be an apartment complex. 3 people living in this house. Dave had a whole group of people that he would let stay over. But you didn't zone it for a permit to have it. This is a single-family resident there. And even though he had a lot of people, I am in agreement with this man when he says that it's a neighborhood. No, it is a business. When you collecting rent from people living in this single dwelling that's been there forever, and then you come in and you put 3 apartments in there, no, sir. No, sir.
How long have you lived there?
My mother lived there 40 years. And the resident, I think we sent a petition. We got one around the neighborhood. They don't want that there. Dave was there, yes, the house, he let it run down, but he was like a handyman. He would fix stuff around the house. It wasn't that bad, but I think it's unfair. I don't feel like a real estate can come in and just buy something and change the whole neighborhood? No, sir. No, sir. He gonna come and change. It has not improved because we have improved it ourselves by, from Miss Carter on the end, my house, and then this apartment here, trash all in the street. Pop lived next door. Melvin lived down. We all keep our family, the resident, the area, the yard clean.
Right.
That yard is not clean next door. Trash, garbage is on the street. It's just not, it's not fair.
Well, Mr. Metcalf, I think, has a question
I
for you.
just got a question for you. First off, let me clarify something that you said. Anybody can buy a house and turn around and collect money for it. That doesn't turn it into a business, okay?
Well, okay, I understand
Okay,
that, but,
no,
okay.
Hold on. So I just wanted to correct you on that.
Okay.
But what is, you've got houses in there, obviously, built out, and so what is your main complaint? Since they have improved this property, they're getting certainly better rents than the people that before, and you were talking about the guy who owned it before, but that doesn't matter. So what they've done to the property and improved the property, what is your real concern?
My concern is that the people if these people leave, then some more come in, and then that might bring it down even worse, but.
Let me bring it down
Let her
worse.
finish, Mr. Metcalf.
But what I'm saying is, it's for single resident. It's not for, that place been there since Brooklyn Field was there, and the soldiers lived there. All these houses are just alike. How can you divide and take that house he's talking about in the back? It was Dave put that as his little workshop, and he, like I said, he was a handyman, so he did a lot of things back there. But I think my gripe is that once we got a lot of people that live there. Section 8 probably live down the street. Section 8 might be there. But for them to put an apartment there, I think it's unfair.
Okay, you answered my
Mr.
question.
Metcalf
Thank
has,
you.
he has another question.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I was just, you answered my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions of the board? Yes, Mr. Burris?
Back to this R1 neighborhood again. And I think what she's espousing is exactly what I've been trying to espouse all day. She believes that she has an inherent right in an R1 neighborhood to keep it that way. It's a single-family residence, and no one can arbitrarily walk in it and change it to an R2, an R3, or whatever. And to me, that's what she's trying to say. She may not be able to articulate it that well, but that's what she's trying to say.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. Is there anyone else and I take it your position is opposition, correct? Was there anyone else in favor? Okay. Anyone else in opposition today? All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming down to speak today. 2-minute rebuttal?
We did go out in the neighborhood. I have a petition that we got 72 signatures on, that they were very happy with what we did. And let me reiterate how hard the housing, I don't know if you understand how hard it is to find housing right now. As soon as we put a house up, we usually have it rented that day. So I know that it would be a horrible hardship for these really good 3 families to have to find somewhere else to live. We did not in any way come in there and try to change something. If you could see those pictures, you see there was clearly 1, 2, and 3. The front 2 on that house had number 1, number 2. The back garage had 3. That was their units. Part of our contract with the previous seller actually said that it was contingent that one of the residents was still living there, but that was moving out. And one of the residents had moved, but still had stuff in there, and he would come and remove his things. So this was not us going in. We did not change the footprint of this place. We didn't. We changed how it looked. And if you ride by that house now, it's beautiful. It wasn't in any way. So I'm asking you to please consider these tenants and this times we're living in. And for them to try to pick up and move and find a new place to live, it's not going to be easy. And as far as if there's any garbage problem, this is my absolute first time hearing that. But I did submit our petition as well to allow the 72 signatures that we got right there in that neighborhood.
Question for staff, is there a dumpster on this site, or enclosure or anything?
No, sir.
How would this be handled would they be required to have one?
They would not be required. They could use curbside pickup. That would be fine. If they were to provide a dumpster, it would have to be connected to sanitary sewer and enclosed and meet
So they can do
setbacks.
can by can collection.
That's
Yes, sir.
I
They could.
suspect it's
That's
probably what's. Okay.
Don't mess with Mother Nature.
Yes. See,
All
even
right.
Mother Nature agrees.
All right, any other comments? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the applicant. So Revitalize, your company, applied for the variance in January that was denied, or I guess applied in October and it was denied?
Yes, sir. It was, I think in January we got a denial.
And looking at the timeline here that I suppose staff provided, I mean, you continued operating against this board's.
Well, we replied because we wanted to get another chance at, applying.
But in the interim, you ignored what we decided.
I mean, not purposely. We didn't want to, and plus COVID was happening. We did not want these people to have to be out on the street either. I mean, we were doing everything we could to try and save this. And we'll do whatever you tell us to do, even if it means
we
that.
did, I believe.
I mean, we sold that property to Sarah Liskey and we manage it for her now.
Okay,
But
and I guess, thank you, Doug. Are you representing the city in the injunction against the current owner?
I am.
So, I mean, I'm confused as to why we're here. I mean, I understand that the 6 months has passed and that they've apply again.
They have the right on a zoning issue to wait 6 months and refile. You do have the timeline there. Let's go more into that into deliberation if we can, because I've got some other things I want to say.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, once again, anyone in the audience either in support or opposition to the application that hasn't already spoken? All right, that concludes our public hearing on this application. Staff has recommended for denial. And it's the usual language of not contrary to public interest, or approving the variance would be contrary to public interest. Special conditions did not exist, and spirit of the chapter shall not be observed. And as stated by Mr. Golden, we have a timeline that was provided by staff regarding a previous variance that was denied and then the subsequent activities. All right, with that said, any questions or comments of the board? Mr. Anderson, did you have something you wanted to cover?
Thank you. If you look at the timeline, really what's important is starting in the middle, the April 20th, it says 2021, it should be 2020, when the notice of violation was issued by planning and zoning. That was because there was a complaint, a 311 complaint, about some work being done at the house in April of last year. So after the NOV was issued, 2 and 3 months later, they went ahead and entered into these leases, knowing that, in my opinion, it appears that they knew that there were some issues and that there were some codes that needed to be resolved, and they went ahead and entered into those 3 leases. And as we all know, in January, it was subsequently, the variance was denied. Nothing's changed then. They have continued to use it. Staff got with me a couple months ago and asked, should we go to municipal court or for a notice of violation, or go to the circuit court for injunction? And it appeared to me the quickest way to get some relief would be to file an injunction in circuit court, which we did last month.
Okay. But the applicant still has the opportunity to request the variance today.
Oh,
correct?
sure. Yeah. They can still do that.
Okay.
Matter of fact, they filed it before the injunction was filed, and they could have filed for it after the injunction was filed, or the complaint for an injunction. We have not received an injunction yet.
Mr. Metcalf, you have a question?
And I'm assuming that Revitalize is here for the new owner, because they sold it to them after we denied it.
No, they actually sold it to the Liskies last August. In October's when Revitalize, after they sold the property, filed the last application.
Right.
The defendants in the complaint are the Liskies, the owners. And it's my understanding that, well, I'm assuming that the Liskies gave a letter of consent for this application, since they're the owner.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All right. Staff has recommended for denial as stated, and the timeline has been provided regarding the history on this property as relates to when this may have converted to a 3-bedroom unit, if there was any grandfathering in or not. I don't know that that's the case, but all right, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Refurbishment of the product doesn't qualify for mandatory rule change.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a second, but a comment. I appreciate the fact that these people have, are coming into neighborhoods and fixing up older or in disrepair buildings. But when you look at this timeline, it was pretty flagrant thumbing of the nose at the city and us. And you said several times, well, we'll do whatever we got to do. Well, what you're going to have to do is take it back to a single-family residence, and somebody can have a air-conditioned wood shop. But with that, I'll second the motion.
I have a motion to deny and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Application's denied.
Does that mean that you guys evict?
No, you'll have to talk to staff.
No, that's up to y'all.
All right.
They are so screwed.
We are on, let's see, application 7? No, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to take a 2-minute recess. I got to get my... That'll be this application. Mr. Miller, how long have you been on the board? Your wife? I think so. At least your second. It's getting ready to change. If they approve the UDC and all the, we're going to really get busy. No, we're really get busy. Because I think everything will come to us. Well, Mr. Coleman's retiring from it, so. Grandson may. Depends on if appointed.
I've got a lady one of them. Yes, I had one, yes, in my office.
Oh, yeah, it's in the truck, yeah. Hey, for the right? There you go.
I think this just means we need to put the right access.
That's right, that's right. All right, everyone, we're going to resume our Board of Adjustment. We have all members present again. All right, this is application 6405, 5915, 5272, 3366, 3139, and 1614. Excuse me, gentlemen in the back. All right, 1757 Government Street.
Hi, that's me. I'm Rebecca Persikian, and I'm...
Hold on a second. Folks, I'm sorry, but we're hearing you over the applicant. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
And I'm here for 1757 Government Street, 36604. The building is known as the Pillars right now.
Right.
Okay.
And, well, let me start with this. Do you know this is recommended for holdover?
I do, but I saw the reason why, and I was going to say I typed up 38 labels and paid for everything, and so I wasn't clear on why that was.
Sounds like you missed 3. 2 or 3, it sounds like, from what? 3? Yeah.
There are 2 properties involved, one of which the Pillars house is owned, and one on which the other part of the application, the parking lot's owned. And I believe that only the property that the house is owned was used for the labels. If you also include the property that the parking lot's owned, it expands it over to the east just a little bit more. And we ran a search, found out that there were 3 additional labels that should have been sent
And they're
out.
occupied properties?
They're-
I guess they're
Yeah,
occupied
yeah,
properties.
we had a call from one owner, from one person that was interested. They saw the sign, was wondering what was going on. And I was talking to her, and I told her she should have gotten something in the mail on it, and she said she didn't. So I got her name, looked it up in the list of labels, and it wasn't on there. So we did a search and found 2 others that were not notified.
Mr. Metcalf has a question.
Conwell, why would y'all not have, when you received the application, why would y'all not have told her that she was missing a couple of labels?
We didn't know.
It's not
We
staff's
don't
responsibility.
research that.
It's the applicant's responsibility to provide those labels.
Well, but it's also, if something's missing sometimes, the staff will say, hey, you need to get us the so-and-so.
Staff does not check every single mailing label that's submitted with all of the applications. It's
Okay.
only if something is brought to our attention.
Okay, that's.
We found out after public notices had been sent out.
Gotcha. So y'all don't go
It
back
was
and
too-
make sure.
Yeah, it was
all
too
done.
late then. Yeah.
That's cool. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so you
Can-
understand our dilemma here.
I
that-
do.
It was a boo-boo.
So I get it, right? I am paying a huge amount of rent on that property,
I'm
right?
sorry, I
I'm
didn't-
paying a huge amount of rent on that property right now, and I cannot move forward with my business license. I'm like stuck now, and I've already hired people. I mean, I've been paying people. I've gone to all of the localized, I gave you guys pictures, like I've redecorated the whole place. I've done everything. I can't move forward on anything, and I missed the last meeting because of a miscommunication issue, and so
Well, then let me ask this, what's different on this application than every previous use of this property? Because my time on this board, we've
So-
seen it, hold on. Other than the public notice, I understand the issue there.
Well, it's been, most recently, it's been approved as a event center, and now it's wanting to be used as a bar lounge type of use.
I think when I first got on the board, it was a restaurant.
yeah.
You know, a very nice restaurant, and then they had events there too. And I think it had a bar, did it not? So,
Yeah.
It
So
does.
Change of use.
so it just circled back around to what it originally was
Right.
20 years ago.
I agree.
Okay, but from a formality standpoint, legal standpoint, we have no option on, we have to hold it over?
Even those three people who are here today, that's not legal.
Okay. You see, we so much want to hear your case, your application.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ma'am, this isn't our business, but I know.
I know.
but-
I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no,
so
no, but,
emotional
I
because
know.
I've
Hold
like
on.
worked really hard on it.
Let
Sorry.
Mr. Metcalf
And
proceed.
I hear you, and I know the owner of that property.
Yes.
Does he know what's going on?
Oh yes, everybody. Like
Is he helping, can he help you out with this situation?
so I'm not sure like what like I'm not really clear because I moved here from DC and the zoning boards are really different there. And so I'm acknowledging that I'm not familiar with the process. So I thought I filled it all out. So if you tell me I need to call Mr. Cutts again, and is it his property? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do.
No, what, in retrospect, you should have paid somebody to do this for you. And that way they would know what the process is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
But,
I have a question too.
yeah, but, and again, I'm asking you things that are not germane to this. I'm just
That's
trying to help
okay.
you because I understand your problem.
Right.
But I would hope that Mr. Cutts would give you some slack and help you out over this next month.
Like how oh, you mean as far as helping me with the rent?
That's right. But again,
Okay.
that's outside
Okay.
of this. I'm just trying to give you some advice.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
I want to ask something. The notice, public notices regarding the lot where the parking's used, right? Is there two lots or one?
There are two pieces of property. Look, see there, the house is on one, the parking lot's on the other. The variance encompasses both properties.
Okay, so my question is, can we not consider the variance regarding the facility today?
No, it's included, it's categorized as one lot because the variance is for both parcels. Two tax parcels, but one.
So we could make a decision regarding the building.
And so we will approve.
Well, is that not contradictory? Because Doug, you just said that it's y'all, the city's considering it one application, but there's two lots in it, and the reason for the legal notice situation is because it actually is being looked at as two lots from a notice standpoint.
It's two tax
understand.
parcels, and so it's how the Revenue Commission taxes it doesn't differentiate between how we look at it. It's one piece of property ruled by one variance.
Okay, I got you. I was just, again, just trying to figure out a way to skin it.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
So can I say one more thing then?
Yes.
Please, sorry. So actually, nothing is changing except for, like
30 days.
Okay.
That's what's changed.
So just stop now. Don't ask anymore.
But
Okay.
you need to make, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go
You
ahead.
need to make sure that you talk to staff and.
I have spent tons of time with
Okay, I
him.
just don't want you to get in a situation where there's another stupid little boo-boo.
Well, I didn't know that I have been back there several times saying, is everything okay? Was even told that it was going to be approved, that they didn't see any reason why it would not be
Well,
approved.
again, but they weren't checking for that
Okay.
technicality. But just make sure that everything's right. Okay?
I thought I did. Okay.
Well, but you did.
Let me ask you this.
Well,
how
how
long-
was I supposed to know that 3 people didn't get the?
Because you don't do that for a living.
One last thing. I'm going to keep it going just a hair longer. The previous operation was under a variance, right? So there was a. so
Yes,
this-
they,
some-
in whatever we mentioned in the staff report, the previous variance was granted in,
1976.
no, that was the first one for the use as the restaurant. The most recent variance was in,
So the variance went away for the first use when it was, a new application was applied for to do the event? So the first one.
Right, they
expired.
had, when they wanted to do the 2014. In 2014, the variance was granted for the use as a venue hall. And they also had the associated parking ratio and tree planting variance was granted
So
then.
can she continue using it for an event facility until she gets her variance?
Yes, you can use it for the event facility.
Well, another question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. Since a variance, it is use-specific to a certain degree, but if the use that she has now would have come under the same zoning classification, would she not have the right to come in under a previous,
No,
a
and I
previous
believe council-
application? I mean, a previous variance that had been granted? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think it expires when.
Is that?
Yeah, I think we've always been under that.
Change of use.
Yeah,
would have lost
because
the
we tell
first
people all the
variance.
time when they come in here that if they quit having an insurance office and they go to start doing something else, it goes away. And
Well,
they don't get to come back and go back and put an insurance office in there 10 years later. Its variance expires.
But she can use it as an event venue today by right.
yes.
That's what I was saying. So she could do that until she gets her 30-day time through and.
So would that mean I would be able to take this and go forward and get my business license and?
You might be able to do the event for the time being.
Planning and zoning would approve a business license for an event center at this location, but we would not for a bar or lounge or other.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
And then she would need to apply for an additional license or.
To have that code added
Yeah.
to her business
So-
license.
Okay.
So you it's either time or
That
money.
would be
and
wasteful,
both.
probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Anyway, just trying to figure a way to.
I know, thank you very much.
For your 30
I
days.
totally appreciate it, thank you.
All right. So I think we're at a point where we need to consider a holdover for this application, even though we've tried to work around it.
We tried.
Thank you, I
All right,
appreciate it,
thank you.
okay.
For a matter of record, do we have anyone here either in favor or opposition to this application today? Okay, that concludes the public hearing. Staff recommends a holdover so the public notice can be completed.
Yep.
Chair entertain a motion.
So moved to approve for a holdover.
All right, I have a motion to approve the holdover. Do I have a second? Chair makes a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the holdover, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're on application 6406, 6383, 4797, 4783, 671, 1812 Old Shell Road.
We had, our distinguished member down here has to recuse himself. We don't have enough to vote, so the applicant left.
The application will have to be held over
Yes, sir.
for 30 days until we have a quorum. Was there anyone here on that application today, for a matter of record? Okay. The application will be held over for 30 days until such time we have a quorum or one of our board members will be in recusal. All right, let's go to the next application. And this is for 6407, 4282 regarding 1590 Regency Drive. Is the applicant here? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your name and address, please.
Lakita Davison and Winston Davison, 1590 Regency Drive.
Okay, your application is recommended for denial. Would you tell the board why we should consider otherwise?
We are submitting a variance request to park work vehicle at home address on personal property between halls while off duty. This vehicle is rarely loaded. When loaded, there is no unloading required, no traffic, and no machinery, and also no noise. My husband's job requires the use of a personal private passenger truck to be used in conjunction with the trailer, which was found to be too long and overweighted when connected. Because our property is on a dead-end street, it possesses no danger to traffic or pedestrians. It was never our intent to make our neighbors uncomfortable or upset. It was only our intent to better our revenue to provide a better future for our family. We have attempted to park at other locations throughout the city. However, these efforts have not been successful. We have also attempted to park at local truck stops, and there's barely no available parking due to late hours that my husband may get in. This truck will not be parked at our home every day. Several days will pass by and my husband's truck is not even there. Due to my husband driving for a company out of state, we have no place, we don't have any place, that's assigned for us to park the vehicle. So therefore, we, park at our home. To be as transparent as possible, we brought the leasing agreement from the company that's out of state, just to show you guys that, he's leased to a company out of state and we have no other place to park.
Okay, is there any questions of the board for the applicant?
Yeah, one, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We're looking at pictures, and granted, they're not every day, they're over a period of time, but there is definitely loaded trailers. We've got pictures of, looks like logs, vehicles, golf carts, and construction equipment, and signs, and ambulances, and generators. So apparently it is loaded when it's there at some times.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
We said rarely loaded.
Okay. And how long is the trailer?
It's 40 feet.
The 40-footer.
Just for the record, so we can get your name and address, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Winston Davison, 1590 Regency Drive.
Okay. All right, proceed. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, and when it's loaded, does this require a CDL? I would think it would be.
Yes, I have a CDL.
Okay, but the vehicle and the trailer are
Personal, yes.
No, it's not my question.
Okay.
Are these licensed as commercial vehicles, since it does require a CDL?
Yes.
So they are registered with the state as commercial vehicles?
Yes.
Not personal vehicles?
Yes. They're registered with the state,
As commercial vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? I have a question for you. Because I asked earlier, I was trying to think of a way that you could find storage. When you have the trailer and it's loaded, are you able, by your agreement, to leave the trailer somewhere other than where the truck is?
It's not safe, because some people, that I know, they have, detached their truck and trailer, at different locations, and equipment has came up missing, or sometimes the freight, may come up missing off the trailer. Just depends on the location.
I was curious if like these storage facilities, because you can park boats and trailers and RVs and other things that are designed for large-scale storage, if you considered utilizing one of those as an option. They're fenced. And they're fenced and secured.
Right.
So that may be something.
And the ones that, we looked at to try to do that, it was, on the other side of town, out on Schillinger's. Yeah, just a long ways.
Well, there's quite a few of them, yes. Please proceed.
Yeah, what part of town is this? Again, I should have looked at it, but just.
It's off Government, Regency Drive.
Okay.
Highway 90.
There's a facility down on DIP that has used storage, and they also have boats and trailers in there, and that's pretty close.
So is it a problem, when it's loaded, or is this a problem all the time?
I would say this is something you would have to follow up with those facilities.
No,
to know
he's
what-
talking about, I think he's talking about is the
Yeah, at home.
neighborhood.
No, I think you're using, the fact you're using a commercial vehicle, and please clarify.
The issue isn't whether the trailer is loaded or unloaded necessarily, it's that it exceeds the weight limit for a vehicle in a residential district.
40-foot trailer.
Okay, so my truck, which is a personal truck, so I can't park my personal truck at home? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's the case. I think the trailer specifically loaded.
I would agree. If the truck was just to be used for personal use and to be parked there, we would have no reason to issue a notice of violation.
That's why I was asking about maybe storing the trailer with your load somewhere, and then you could do what you want with your truck.
Right. So my question again is, if it isn't loaded, am I permitted to park my truck and trailer there if there isn't a load? Because it wouldn't be overweight, it wouldn't surpass any weight limits, without it being loaded.
I don't know. I'll have to defer to the staff on that.
If documentation can be provided to us that the trailer unloaded does not exceed weight limits, then we could review that and see about perhaps letting that be okay.
Okay. It might be beneficial that you request a holdover to have that discussion with the staff and provide any documentation.
Yes, sir.
And meanwhile, if you're unable to, I would look at maybe some of these options we've provided. I mean, we're not trying to say we don't want you to have your business. It's just, in a residential area, and you've heard a lot today, we're always trying to look out for the residents more so than anything.
Right.
Okay. Would you request a holdover today, 30 days, to give a chance to meet with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. For a matter of record, do we have anyone here who's either in favor or opposition to this application today? Okay. Do you understand what we're trying to do today is?
Just the length of the trailer as well.
Okay. All right. So we're proposing, or the applicant's requesting a holdover today for 30 days, and for them to have the opportunity to work this out with the staff, whether or not something else can be done. Yeah. If you will, I think I owe it to them that if they've got something they want to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, may I say one more thing?
You'll get a 2-minute rebuttal in a minute. If you'll have a seat nearby so that you don't have to come back down. Sir, are you in favor or
I'm
opposite?
opposed.
You're opposed?
Yes.
Okay.
Kenneth Wiley, 1600 Regency Drive. The reason why I'm opposed to this, sir, I'm not opposed to anyone having a business. But what I am opposed to is someone not taking the correct parameters before they choose a business. We're not talking about parking right now. You don't need a waiver to park a truck. We're not talking about simply parking. We're talking about a commercial trucking company, a hotshot trucking company taking place in a subdivision with various pieces of equipment, day in and day out, in and out, night and day, being parked. I live right next door to this. I have company come out of my house and say, this is a very nice neighborhood. I like it, but what you got going on right next door to you? Can I go there and buy me a beer and some cigarettes like a trucking company? So when I look from my house, I got a question. How many people would purchase a house right next to a trucking company? Raise your hand if you would, because when I purchased my house, I didn't desire to have my house right next to Love's Trucking Company or Beard Equipment. No, my home is my sanctity. That's my most prized investment, is my home. Now, I've already talked to my realtor. If I had to sell my house, I wouldn't get much for it because I had to lower the price so low just to make it attractive. Because nobody wants to have a house right next to a trucking company, bringing stuff in and out, early in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, cranking the truck up and let it run like he at the truck stop anyway, waking up your family. A lot of people in the neighborhood can't hear it, but I can hear it. I'm right next door to it. Now, my home is my most prized possession. Okay, I think I remember this. I don't even need my paper for this. The R1 zone said it protects residential districts from all commercial activity to provide a suitable family life for residents. Now, where variance come into play, I did a little homework on variance because I didn't know what doggone a variance was at first. But variance are in place for, like, okay, you got churches and schools. Churches and schools are in residential districts. So you have to make provisions for churches and schools. But I mind you, trucking companies are not in subdivisions. They're on the viaduct somewhere, on the overpass, where they're away from homes, away from the sanctity of people. Now, I don't know if you've been down Knob Hill or not. It's a long road. Now, I've gotten over 50, me and some more people have gotten over 50 petitions of residents, so it's not just me, of people that are opposed to having any adjustments made to our ordinance because we have a nice neighborhood and we want to keep it that way. I've known some neighborhoods to be nice at one point, but you go back there 5 or 6 years and say, my God, what happened? Because there's some things that were allowed to happen. If your mother tell you clean your room up, and she enforced that, you know you had to keep that room clean because she enforced it. But if she didn't enforce it, you could let your room look like anything. And a community is the same way. If you don't enforce what has already been put in place to keep our communities nice and organized, what are you going to do? I'm thinking about my kids, okay? I'm thinking about the younger generation. When I leave them, it's nice now, but if you don't keep it that way, when your kids become the property owners, what they going to have? They're going to have a community that's in ruins because we didn't take the proper steps to make sure it stayed nice. Now, you wouldn't see this kind of activity in Magnolia Grove, Sugar Mill, Hunter's Way. It's not allowed. I love my community just like they do theirs. I take pride in my community just like they do theirs. Like I said, it's a trucking company. It's not parking. It's a trucking company. It's a high-shot trucking company. Right next to my house. It's not parking. You don't need a waiver to park. It's a waiver to do something you don't supposed to do. He's already got a violation. Oh, I almost forgot. And he don't have a business license to do business in our city. How about that? He don't have a business license. How do I know that? I work with the revenue department. If you got a business license, it has to be issued through my department, which you don't have one. Thank you for your time, sir. For listening to the concerns of the Crestview subdivision. Notice I said subdivision. I didn't say business district. We're not a business district. We're a subdivision. So thank you for hearing our concerns.
Is there any questions of the board for the
One
speaker?
question.
Yes.
Does your neighborhood have restrictive covenants of any sort? And that's not really our purview, but I'm just curious.
Yes, we do.
Okay. We have, Mr. Burris has a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How long would this load, for lack of a better word,
Well, sir,
be stored at that address?
On the weekends there, it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's there until he get ready to take it somewhere. Sir, anytime I can look out my kitchen window and see golf carts, generators, cranes, concrete pipes that belong up under a bridge, wireframes, ambulances, bulldozers.
I get all of that, but how long would a particular load stay there before it's moved on?
Until he gets ready to move it, sir. Okay, now let me also talk. We've also had confrontation just because.
Specific to the question.
Oh,
yes.
sir.
3 days is what you stated?
It stays out a weekend. I know he'll leave it there.
Friday, Saturday, and possibly
Yeah.
Sunday.
Now, sometimes it's there. It just depends on how long he want to let it stay there.
Well, I see them pulling in and out of my neighborhoods all the time. Big tractor trailers, pulled by semis and
Yes, sir.
over weekends and stuff like that. But
Okay. Can I make a statement, please? Okay. Now, I'm sure.
Hang on. Do we have any other questions of the board?
no, okay, I'm through.
All right.
Can-
No, sir, I think your time's fixed. I've got other people I got to allow. I appreciate it. Thank you. First of all, we kind of got out of order. Are you in support, ma'am? Okay. If you will, come down, and then I should have went to the opposition. I apologize. If you'll come down and give us your name and address, if you have anything to add.
I am Elaine Davidson. I'm his mother.
Okay, your address.
9876 County Road 7.
Okay, do you have anything to add to their statement?
I just would like to add that although it is rated or being named a business, for me, and I keep telling him, this is your job, this is your way of living. There is no business conducted on the property, none whatsoever. No business conducted at the property. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the board? No. All right. Now back to the opposition. I apologize. If you'll, any of you that wish to speak regarding this application? You've been very patient with us all throughout the other applications. I want to give you the same courtesy.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Your name and address.
My
please.
name is Gloria Rader, and I live at 1555 Radian Court. First of all,
And what's the relation, how close are you to this court or this address?
he lives on Regency. I live on Radian. When you're on Regency and turn left on Radian, there's Radian and Radian Court, and I'm on Radian Court.
Okay.
But let me tell you something that if you're ever on Regency, when he comes down Knob Hill with this truck and trailer, he has to come down Knob Hill. He has to turn on to Regency. I have sat there through this ordeal, so I know what it's like. He has to turn on to Regency. He has to back over Knob Hill to the other side of Regency, turn around facing Knob Hill to back in to where he lives. Now, this takes, a few minutes to do, but our subdivision has a covenant and restriction that it plainly prohibits all commercial activities. We are a R1 residential neighborhood. My husband and I bought that property 21 years ago, and I was advised when he passed away, why do you want to live, in a house by yourself? I feel very comfortable in that neighborhood. I don't want commercial activities coming in. Knowing that he does not have a business license, he drives a truck that's got a sign on it. It's just, it's not suitable for the Crestview subdivision. And I don't think, I know our subdivision was built quite a few years ago, but I don't think our streets And Nob Hill is the one that he uses, because that's where he lives. I don't think our streets were designed to carry truckloads, you know, commercial trucks and trailers with all of this equipment on there. I feel like sooner or later, our streets are going to start tearing up from all of this weight that's being put on that street. And I am 999% against it. We don't need it. Y'all have, I think, copies of petitions that people from as far back as Apex, Radian Court, Regency, Radian Drive. People are trying to keep commercials out of our residential neighborhood. And I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments of the board? Do we have others? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking your time. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Glenn Perry. I live at 4251 Belvedere Street. I am the president of Crestview Community Action Group. We are not a HOA, so we do not have a covenants. We go by the laws of the city of Mobile. I do not know Mr. Davison. I have talked to a few people about him. We all know he's a hard worker. He is trying to do everything he can to provide for his family.
Pull that mic closer to you.
Yes, I can. So he's doing everything he can to provide for his family, and we all notice that and understand that. But when he started bringing these large loads in, and it is fairly often, that's when it became an issue, just because it becomes an eyesore. Being a neighbor and having to see that every day, it's not right to him. So we try to keep everything fair. The big thing is I've not talked to one resident that had a problem with him just parking his trailer there, as long as it's where they say they're going to park it. I don't think that's an issue. But if it's coming in fully loaded, that's where our problem is.
Okay. Any questions of the board? All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else today? Yes, ma'am. You'll be our fourth speaker.
My name is Bonnie, Bonnie Hill, and I live on Regency
Pull the mic a
Drive.
little closer.
I live on Regency Drive, one house down. And I understand what everyone is saying here, but this is our neighborhood. I've been there 45 years. And it's not just a loaded trailer. It's a huge trailer, and he keeps it parked out almost to the in front of his house. I've never seen it in front of his house, but it's beside it. Every time you go by there, you see this trailer, this huge long trailer on a dually truck. So it takes a lot of room, and it's just not fair that we try to keep up our property. And you know, I'm thankful that he wants to take care of his family, but that's not our responsibility, but to find him a parking place for his commercial truck. My husband has a business. He can't bring his trucks home and have them loaded down and have them, you can hear this truck coming not a mile away, but when it turns into our neighborhood, almost you can't. So we don't deserve that. We really don't. We're too old to move. We love our neighborhood. And just think if that was in your neighborhood and this huge trailer and a dually truck was parked out there all the time. And yes, he tries to put it up in there, but it's huge. It's huge. And, you know, I'm sorry if he has to pay for an extra place to put it, but that's just a fact of life. We can't take that responsibility for him. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. If you will, come back to the podium. I want to re-clarify something. You have formally requested a holdover, 30 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For you to get with staff, work out what are the conditions, and then what other options you have.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I just wanted to say,
well, I don't want to go too much further with.
Right. Yes, sir.
'cause
Okay.
in 30 days, you're going to have an opportunity to come back again.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unless you work out something different.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions of the board? All right. Do you all understand, those of you that came today on this application, that they're requesting a holdover? So in 30 days, if they come back, we'll have to make a decision at that time, not today. But I wanted, based on your patience with us, allow you the chance to speak today in case you can't come back next time. So at least we had the opportunity to hear your comments. Okay. Unless there's something pertinent that you can't save until next meeting.
Oh, no, we can save. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Do
thank
you want
you.
to say something?
I was just gonna say that the petition that was signed, that false information was shared in regards to the parking of the trailer, you know, to get the other neighbors in the community to sign that petition.
A lot of times when we have these meetings, these board meetings, obviously those that attend, we put a lot more weight. Obviously, we want to hear what they have to say, as well as those that support you.
Yes, sir.
So, anyway, thank you. All right, this will conclude this application. The applicants requested a holdover for 30 days. Chair, entertain a motion.
Motion to hold over?
I have a motion to hold over. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the holdover, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, holdover for 30 days. Thank you all again for your patience. This is our last application for the day. Don't be too excited now. All right, Mr. Anderson, did you have any business for us?
No, nothing new.
All right, any other business for the board from staff? All right, this will conclude our Board of Adjustment hearing for the day, or meeting. Thank you all. Whew. You know, and if the UDC stuff goes through, we're going to have more.
Yeah.